Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third part of the main events Euro podcast preview. Back with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
Aaron, there is a light at the end of our Sunday tunnel. We've just been trying to crack on with all these in one stint. So hopefully this next podcast is going to be good for those that are trying to delve less into the overall fabric of teams, but into specific players. So just as a quick thing for what we're going to do today, we are going to go through each position and we're just going to give two examples of the best premium budget players. Nothing too long. We don't want to be here all day, especially for you guys. And also, we are going to have a quick look at the five most selected players in each position and just give our thoughts on those and whether we like them or not, or if have any changes that we'd make. So let's just dive right into it. No more messing around. Aaron, who is your best premium goalkeeper?
I've picked Donnarumma as mine, although I'm still a little bit sensitive with him for leaving AC Milan. The way that Italian teams, like especially this one, like their defensive record right now is just it is the best in the tournament. So, and with the group that they're in, it just makes sense. Plus, he's not 6 million, unlike some of the others. So, for me, he's definitely the best to start off.
Yeah, I was going to say Donnarumma. I agree with everything you just said there. I think their defense, all that sort of stuff, the fixtures he's got is a no-brainer for me. However, I wanted to go with someone different. Same price, Rui Patricio. So yeah, I just think Portugal are so good defensively that teams are going to find it really difficult to break through them. I think France have got the best chance, but with Hungary first game, I think they've got such an amazing chance of having a clean sheet in that game. I think he'd be a good second pick to get into that Portugal defense.
Tough group though, but he's always done well at getting the save points, and he's got a solid defense in front of him. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I'd still go Donnarumma. I just wanted to pick someone different. In terms of the best budget players, so for budget, anyone that is between 4 and 5 million. I think there's only one 4 million goalkeeper, and we aren't recommending that person today. So who's your first pick for that?
Mine is, I think it's pronounced Simone for Simon
Spain?
for Spain. I don't think De Gea is the preferred goalkeeper there, even though he's the most expensive one. I think he's quite low owned as well. So just with Spain's group, I think that for 5 million, I think he's a pretty good option right there. Depends if you don't have the Spanish assets elsewhere.
Yeah, I went for Schmeichel as my first choice. I don't think I'll personally be having him in my team because I think there is another way to go with it. But if I just think Denmark's defense looks so good, and they've got a fairly simple group outside of Belgium, but playing Belgium on match day 2, that's when I'll be limitless in anyway, so I don't have to be concerned with it. I think for game 1 and game 3, I think they're going to have a really good defense. Like I say, he's not going to be in my team, but there is a reason for that, as we will get to later.
Mm-hmm. And just another budget one. This one is with a huge asterisk next to it. It's if we know who is actually going to be the starting keeper between Krul and Stecklenburg. Frank de Boer has not helped. He's said that both of them are going to play each friendly. So Krul played the last one. So I guess but for 4.5 for a starting goalkeeper, and for a group that the Netherlands are still better than each team, that is a good enabler. And they don't play on the first day or anything, so it's good for there. The only problem with that is I think they play on the third match day. They play on the same time at the same time as some of the other goalkeepers that we may have. So just want to watch out for.
The other goalkeeper I've went for is Szczesny. I think if you wanted a 4.5, I'd probably go with Austria's personally. I think they've got a better chance of keeping a clean sheet. He's not 100% nailed. However, you're going to have a other player. You're going to have Donnarumma or someone else. That's excellent. So I think it's worth the risk, personally. But yeah, for my pick here, I've gone for Szczesny. I think Poland are actually fairly all right at defence when they are playing against poor attacks. And for 2 of their 3 fixtures, they are indeed playing against poor attacks. And the middle fixture is Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So again, get to avoid them on Limitless. Really trying to maximize the teams where we have good 1 and 3 fixtures and the bad fixtures in the middle. Looking through the more selected players, so we've got 5 here. We've already talked about Donnarumma and Schmeichel, so I don't feel like we need to talk about them again. Donnarumma is the 3rd highest, and Schmeichel is the 2nd. So first we've got Hradecki, and that is because is he 4 million?
Yeah, 4 million starting goalkeeper for Finland. And like we said in the previous episodes, he's priced there not as a budget option. It's because they're likely not going to keep a clean sheet. So it's just a bad price.
Yeah, I think obviously goalkeepers still lose points for conceding. So you want to be hoping that they don't get battered. Otherwise, you might lose your points. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could have him in case your starting goalkeeper gets injured and you want to move your funds elsewhere. Otherwise, literally any other 4 million goalkeeper, I think, will be worth just as much. I don't know, maybe might get some save points. So I can understand why people have gone there if they want to bulk out the rest of the team. But I just think concentrate on the position at hand. You've only got one other goalkeeper. That's not like a defender. Courtois. Lots of people going for him. What do you make of Courtois?
I think kind of like what we said in the preview is that I don't trust Martinez as the manager. Yeah, they play 5 at the back, but it's like the wing backs are so attacking, and they just leak goals from what I've seen from them. Like I just wouldn't want to bank that much money on a. Not that you can have a guaranteed clean sheet, but for 6 million, I don't think it helps the chances of his clean sheet. So I'm avoiding him. But in the group stage, who knows, when Belgium are one of the last few teams, he could be one of the better ones.
Yeah, I just think the thing here is trying to look at combinations. Is Courtois going to get a lot of save points? I don't think he is. So ultimately, what you're after from him is just a clean sheet. And there are better value players that you can get from Belgium that are less than 6 million. Denier being likely to play in the back 3. There is a chance that he doesn't play. Just to make people aware, they do have other centre backs that can play that position perfectly well. So hopefully, because he's in my team, he stays there. But that's why I'd rather pay 4.5 million for him than 6 million for Courtois when they are likely to get the exact same amount of points.
Yeah, totally agree. Then the 5th most selected goalkeeper is Emmanuel Neuer, which I think is, even though I've got Germany higher than probably most people, I'm not touching Neuer at all, especially for that price point.
Yeah, if he was cheap, then fair enough, because he might get some saves. But Germany's defense have been poor, and we've already spoke about how confused they are within their system. And if they've got to play a back 4, that's going to be the end of the dream for that. They need to play a back 4 to get the best out of the attackers. But if they do that, then they're just so weak at the back because none of them play in a back 4. Diving into defenders straight away. So the best premium picks, I mentioned this in the previous video. I think Jordi Alba for me is the best. He is likely to get lots of assists, and Spain have a group where I just can't see anything but clean sheets for them. They play a particular brand of football that promotes clean sheets as well. 6 million isn't the most expensive defender on the game either. They're kicking around 6.5. So I really like him as and also he fills the gap on my subs bench because I will need players for the final day to to come on. So obviously for game week 1 or match day 1, whatever it's called, he's not on the last day, but for 2 and 3 years.
For me, I've got. I should preface this. This is for starting off the tournament. You can transfer these out afterwards.
Yeah.
Or obviously you're limitless. But I've got Cancelo or / Guerrero. I think even though there is a risk that people are saying that Guerrero might be dropped, but Guerrero is in a lot of corners. I think he takes the left-footed one. Bruno Fernandez takes the right-foot ones. But obviously you've got Ronaldo there as well, if there is a direct free kick. But
yeah, no one else.
Yeah, exactly. But either one of them two, they're so high up the field that against Hungary in the first game, I think if there is going to be a chance of getting a return, it's probably going to come in that game. So they are good picks for that, at least starting off the competition. And then it's easy just to downgrade as one of your 2 transfers for the next round, or limitless.
Cancelo's cheaper than Guerrero, isn't he? Is that right?
No, they're both 6 million.
They're both 6 million, are they? I thought one was 6.5. I'll be wrong. I know I'm wrong. I'm always wrong with this sort of stuff.
Oh, yes. Guerrero 6.5. No, that's my bad.
So I'd say Cancelo clear over Guerrero purely for the 0.5.
I was getting confused with Diaz.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, that's the thing. We'll talk about those later on. My other pick, Zinchenko. I sort of questioned the picks in the last podcast, but looking at it, he is a defender on the game, and he is a midfielder in real life. But I'm not really bothered about that. I'm actually interested in Ukraine's clean sheets. I think they might get a couple. I think they're likely to, with the fixtures that they have in match day 1 and 3, to be honest. And the fact that he does play further up the field means that he might get something. So I like that. Full disclosure, one of my picks was going to be the Portuguese fullbacks, but that I wanted to come away from that. I didn't want to say the same as you. So Zinchenko realistically is like a 3rd pick for that sort of price, I think.
Yeah. For my last premium defender, I've actually got Andy Robertson.
I love it.
Just because home advantage, and he's likely to get assists. He got an assist in the friendly against the Netherlands. So I think he's just going to be unreal in this tournament.
Yeah, I like that. It even tempts me to move Zinchenko down to someone else that's 4.5 and get Robbo in for 5.5. And I think the defense, you can have so much fun because there are some tidy little 4.5 picks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no superstar outside, like outstanding defensive choices that are really expensive. I think for me the big disappointment is how expensive the French fullbacks are, especially Ruben Hernandez. He's 6. I think he's the most expensive, 6.5.
Yeah.
So I was looking at him. I was looking at the French boys, but I just thought their group. There's a target other fixtures, even though they are, I think, the best players. So best budget players, even that we've been talking about them. We've gone for one from each team. I've gone for Jair from Denmark. I think that's how it's pronounced. Maybe Kjar, whatever it is. He's absolutely nailed on at centre back. 4.5 million. We've discussed previously Denmark's absolutely glorious fixtures. And the reason I'm not getting Schmeichel in it is because I'm going for this player and your pick, Aaron. I'm going for them both. Who is?
It's the fullback Mele. I don't know if that's even how you say it, but Atalanta fullback Mele, and 4.5. He's going to be moved to left back. That's the only thing I can see going wrong for him. Normally he's right-sided, but I think he's solid, and he's got that Atalanta fever. He's going to be attacking, so hope for an attacking return.
We love the Atalanta boys. So we've got to get him in. My other pick is actually, again, going with the Polish goalkeeper thing, is Jan Bednarek. I just think Poland again. They've got some good. I'm trying to target teams that are good at defense, maybe not so great in attack, but I think like with Lewandowski up front, they only need one. They can win games 1-0 Poland, and that's fine. And I kind of like that. But again, 4.5 million, such a good price. And it comes away from the template of, your 4.5, Denair, Wijndals, the two Danish players that we picked. I wanted to mention him because although he is quite highly, like, he's sort of mediocrely picked, I'm not seeing many people talk about him, which is why I thought I'd remind people he does exist. He's not like the best defender in the world or anything. He's all right. But I think Poland could keep some clean sheets.
Yeah. And my last budget pick is either Pau Torres for Spain. I think he's looking favoured to start for Spain. Now that Sergio Ramos isn't in the team, so his percentage shot right up when Ramos was taken out. But if it's not him, it's going to be Eric Garcia, who to Cameron's delight.
Cameron's favourite player.
4.5 as well. So both of them 4.5 to get into Spain starting 11. Which just
I don't like the
bad.
fact that we don't know, though. It's the second last day and then the last day. So for match day 3, it's the last day, and you don't know which. Nah, not into that. Obviously, we'll probably have a more clear indication. But also for that match day 3, whether it's Torres or Garcia that start, they're the ones that are likely. If they're through, one of them is getting rotated. So I'd put this on trap level, Torres and Garcia.
I can see that.
I'm sticking it into the trap door, because I think you don't know which one's playing the first game. It's so far back that you can't really get out of it if you put them in. Then you're probably going to limit this in 2, and then that player is going to be rotated in 3.
Yeah.
So if they do well, and if they don't do well, then why would you want a Spain defender? If they aren't through from that group by the final day, then do you want them?
Yeah, I can see that as well. But yeah, I think because they've also got there's another 4.5. I think it's Llorente, Diego Llorente. He's 4.5, and he might even come in as well. So it's a bit of a nuisance
for them.
Yeah.
Let's go through the most popular picks in the game. So let's talk about 1 and 3, because they sort of fit together nicely. Ruben Diaz, 42%. João Cancelo, 23%. I don't understand the Ruben Diaz picks over Cancelo, because there's no ball recoveries in the game. And that being said, Cancelo loves a ball recovery. I think it's because Ruben Diaz is going to play every single minute of every single game, whereas Cancelo might be rotated with Semedo.
Yeah, it's not like Diaz was like a dominant attacking centre back. He's not a Van Dijk who regularly scores from corners, etc. That's going to trigger some Man City fans. So like, I don't know, with this game, this price, I think it's just the recency bias that he's won the Player of the Year, and they know him. Like, I think that's just one of them things. Cancelo, that's a huge drop off. It's like a 20% difference between Diaz and Cancelo. So I think Cancelo he's better on the right side, but like you said, you don't know. Semedo, he's in the Portuguese system. He's not far behind, because remember, Semedo only I think it's 2 seasons ago, played for Barcelona. So
yeah, and got his life destroyed by Alphonso Davies. And then he's not torn up any trees in the Premier either, has he, Semedo? He's an average right back. He's all right on like right wing back getting forward, but De Ligt, 39%. He's arguably out of the first game. He's done his groin, and we don't know if he'll be back yet or not. But even so, the Dutch aren't doing anything to fill me with optimism for their defense. Go for Wijndal if you want a Dutch defender. Like, he'll be playing left back or left wing back, and he's got more of a chance of getting a goal than De Ligt. De Ligt had that season for Ajax, didn't he? Where he scored from a lot of corners, but he's done nothing for Juventus in that respect, really. Mm-hmm. So I think that is a lot of Ajax Champions League bias. Not necessarily saying from Dutch people. I actually think Dutch people are completely disinterested from the Netherlands team. I think it's just sort of casual Champions League watchers that go, "Oh, I remember when he did well," and it's just sort of stuck in the mind. Whereas he's actually been fairly poor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
his percentage in the Champions League game was really, really high as well, despite him not even be a regular starter for Juventus. I remember a few times we had to say in the preview podcasts, "Don't get de Ligt in."
Yeah.
And I think he was one of the most expensive defenders in the game as well. Like, he was more expensive than Bonucci. I think that's just memory, but yeah,
He was more expensive,
wouldn't.
and it's a trap. Lastly, Luke Shaw, 18%. Right, so people are using FPL stats for this because Luke Shaw creates X amount of chances, but Luke Shaw is on set pieces for Man United. I don't think he'll be on set pieces for England. Also, he's not a guaranteed starter when Ben Chilwell plays left back, and Ben Chilwell's performance in the Champions League was absolutely remarkable. That being said, they can both play left back and both play left wing back. I do think Shaw might be just slightly the better left back, Chilwell the better wing back for sure. But either way, I would not be picking in England fullback. With all the jokes about how many we've taken, why is that the position you'd go to? I think if you wanted to find a way into an England defensive position, it's John Stones because of his attacking threat from set pieces. That's an absolute no-brainer if that's the way you wanted to go. I'm still unsure about England's defence, not because I think they'll concede a bucket load, but they love to concede the odd goal that will take away your clean sheet, annoyingly. I mean, I remember even in qualifying would be Kosovo 5-3, and it could have been 6-6, to be honest. So yeah, and especially with if Harry Maguire isn't fit, he's such an important part. This is what we're talking about in part one. When one player that's the main player is missing, it diminishes the value of the entire team in terms of defensively. So every single England asset is diminished by him not being there.
Yeah, and I think with England as well, just with Southgate's love of Trippier, I think, well, he's at 5 million. If you were going to go in England fullback, Trippier, I mean, he started left back in the last friendly. I know he tried not to play the Man U and Man City, Chelsea players, but it just showed that he'd rather move Trippier to there than have a left back, and Trippier can, and he's cheaper. So I think England have so many options that it's just risk after risk with them.
That's a madness, that one. Get Luke Shaw out of your team. On to the next group of players, our midfielders, Aaron. And this is, it's a toughie, this one. To be honest, I found it very, very difficult to go through these. But we'll start with...
I think it's hard because you don't have like a standout. You don't have like Salah or Mane who normally stand out from these sort of midfield selections.
Even with these, like, let's say you look at the Premier League. Let's say you look at Premier League, FPL. Your big hitters this season, Salah and Bruno Fernandez, I think, were the top two midfielders.
Mm-hmm.
But they can blank for weeks, and then they'll haul, and then they'll pick up the little consistent run, and then they'll like Salah blanked for 8 weeks or something like that in FPL. Obviously, just that's the problem with this sort of game. That's the total game length, like 8 weeks, I think. So going for high budget players is a big risk. So we've identified our premium players to be between 8.5 and 10.5, which is the most expensive midfielder in the game. Who's your first premium pick?
I've got, I don't know if it'll be a surprise at all, really, but I think he's right on the premium borderline. But I've actually got Christian Eriksen, 9 million. All of his games are at home for the group stage. Everything will go through him. He's a set piece taker, and he's a safe. He's pretty much guaranteed to play all these games. So I've got Eriksen as my first one.
I too have Eriksen. So who's your second one?
Sorry, I couldn't see it on, but I've got a bit more of a punty one, but I've got a Nabry,
Nabry.
because recently for Germany, I know Muller's just came back into the team, but he's been the one who's featured more in the front three than Leroy Sané. I know Löw and Sané don't see eye to eye a lot of the time, and Havertz as well. But Gnabry's, we've seen him for Bayern Munich before, and when Lewandowski was out, he's that main striker. So I think 9.5. He is very punty, but if we get any indication that he's going to be the starting striker as a midfielder, I think that it's a punty, but I think his ceiling's really high.
But my problem for Nabry is he's been playing up front, but I think with Muller coming in, I think he'll go off to the right. I think they'll play Muller behind Havertz and them two doing a link up. And then they'll have Nabry and Sane on either waiting.
Havertz as well for 9 million. He's a good.
Well, yeah, this was it. I think Havertz is such a good choice. I was going to put him in from like my Eriksen replacement. Just he probably maybe only get one, sort of go Eriksen. And it's purely down to the fixtures because I think Havertz in that system could just do so well. My other pick was Eden Hazard, very punty. All depends on his fitness. A lot will change. We've got friendlies today. If he's not fit for this friendly, I'm going to take him out anyway because I just don't trust him to get back and to stay healthy. This could be a trap. But if he can get a game under his belt, then it's hard to go without him when he's then everything's going to go through him for Belgium, with Lukaku arguably finishing things off. But without KD being there, I just think Hazard has got such an upside. Expensive though, 10 million.
Mm-hmm. But he's a good De Bruyne replacement, which we'll get on to.
The best mid-price, so we're looking at 7 to 8 millions. Who you got first, Aaron? 7 to 8 million.
I've got Ferran Torres. I think that with the right side, you touched on it when you were reviewing Spain, that they like to crowd each wing. But I think the fact that Llorente being right back, I think him pushing up to fill a mid spot, and then Fabian Ruiz, because he's left-footed, I think that allows Ferran Torres to make a dart and run into the middle, as we've seen him do for Man City against Newcastle. I think that makes him a good pick for 8 million for me. So
I think he's the standout 8 million. Again, he's a good player to have for that last game where you need to take one of your blankers off and you put someone on. 8 million, I think, is a fair price. No brainer. Who's your next pick?
For the next pick, I've actually got. I think it's more so for safety because there's a little bit of confusion, kind of with the Italian team, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, should I go Chiesa? Should I go Insigne? Should I go this or should I do that?" And you probably already know who I'm going to say now. But Inter Milan midfielder Barella. I almost said his first name. I was about to just go with it. We're on a first name basis. But Barella, 7 million. I think he's the safest midfielder to start for Italy. And just with that group and the form that they're in, I believe he scored in the friendly as well.
Yeah, he did.
So he's done well for Inter Milan. I think for 7 million, if you want safety, a safe floor, and you don't have to deal with the wingers switching, I think he's good.
Yeah, I've stuck in McGinn. So you went for Robertson, I've gone for McGinn, 7.5 million. He's the most likely goal scorer for Scotland. Shots from outside the box, which means extra points if he does manage to find the goal. And he's playing against teams that concede goals. Ultimately, I know that Scotland aren't going to be like scoring a bucket load, but he only needs one. I'll be quite happy. So yeah, I think he's a good pick for 7.5 million. Although I do like the Barella pick. We spoke about the Barella pick a little earlier. But that leads us into the best budget players. That's between 4 and 6.5. And I've went with Berardi. I just think he's going to play the first game, and if he's rotated for the second, then that means he's probably going to play the third. And if he's not, then I can transfer him out, and it's 6. He's not a burden at 6 million. That's the thing. He's 0.5 million more than N'Golo Kante. That's where we've got to look at things. So, for example, would you rather have? I've seen a lot of people with Alioski in because one of 4.5 million penalty take or whatever, or those 4.5 million defenders that we're talking about earlier. Would you rather have one of those and a player in this game like N'Golo Kante, or would you rather go down to Rostovski, who's a starter for North Macedonia, take your chance with him, and then have an extra 0.5 to go to Berardi? I think it's just maximizing your potential. So that's where I'd go, but with the full expectation that he might get pulled off before the hour, he might not start every game. It's, approach this at your own risk. Like, be mentally prepared for when he maybe comes off or something like that.
Mm-hmm. For me, I had actually I mentioned Rabiot in one of the earlier episodes, but I think someone who has a real chance of playing in match week 8, whatever it's called, match day 3, is Thomas Lemar, 6.5. And I think once there's the rotation of the French squad, if they have qualified, I think Lemar, he ends up going up on all the set pieces when he's on the field. And he would replace one of the wingers, either Griezmann or Mbappe. I think that is a punty one, but his ceiling is so high for his price in that squad.
Yeah, like I said, we don't know whether the French are playing 4-4-2, which affects them, 4-3-3, which affects them. One of the avoids that I've got is actually not him, but Kingsley Coman, because he might not play. We'll love Coman in the UCL, but with the players that they've got in attacking positions, there's just no guarantee. And when it's okay for Berardi at 6 million, or like you say for Lemar, if you think you're going to bring him in for match day 3 and not match day 1, at his price, like, okay, you can take those risks, but not when you're looking at 8 and 9 million euro midfielders. My final pick's Yuri Tielemans, especially if Eden Hazard isn't fit. He's coming straight in, 6.5 million. He does get the odd goal for Belgium. I think you could get a lot of assists for Lukaku. Lukaku, if he's going to score, someone needs to give him the ball. So trying to predict who's going to do that, I think it could be key for turning, sort of just average picks into swords to attack the game week. And it's just like I say, 6.5 million. It's just such an easy way to get into that Belgian team. So I wouldn't hesitate to get him. Let's look at these surprising, very, very surprising top 5 picks currently. So we've got Nego, 42%, Hungarian midfielder. I am one of this 42% currently because he's 4 million and he allows me to do things elsewhere. That being said, I think from within an hour of me putting him in, I've been looking at ways of improving my team without him being there because he's not nailed on. I was hoping that with Dominic Szoboszlai's injury, that he might be the one to fill those boots. But in the recent friendly, he started on the bench, came off, and to be fair, once he came on, they scored. And they seem to play a little bit better as well. So I think the next friendly is going to be key. If he starts, I've got no problem playing him. I don't care about his price, or anything else. I think 4 million for someone that starts is just a no-brainer. It's will he start, and the next friendly is so important to that. What do you make of the Nego hype?
Yeah, I think that like great as an enabler. Sorry if you can hear people outside. But I think as an enabler, he's great as well. But I just don't see him playing. I mean, that's the big thing with him. With some of the other most selected midfielders, I think Mount is like the only one that I actually would rate. Like Kante, I think that's just recency bias. Plus, if ball recoveries were in the game, he would 100% be in my team. But
beyond
exactly. De Bruyne
injured,
out. Mount.
Yeah, I don't mind the Mount pick.
I don't mind that. And then Kimmich. A lot of people have issues with that, but I don't hate it for 6 million. He's going to play. So, but I just don't.
I'd rather have Kimmich for 6 million than Kante for 5.5. Kimmich's more likely to pop up with an assist. He's on set pieces. De Bruyne, obviously, we've got no idea when he's back, and even if he is back, will he be ready? Mount, I think, is a good pick for 7 million. He's going to play most minutes of every game, I think, for England. He's just too important because of his. It's not just because of his ability on the ball, but it's his off the ball work. He's this, like, the press starts with him. So I think that's a really good pick, to be fair, for Mount. And he's arguably going to be on a lot of set pieces, Mason Mount. He's our best set piece taker outside of Kieran Trippier, maybe, now that Trent isn't going. But yeah, the rest, I'm confused by some of them. I understand Kimmich, understand Mount, and I understand Nego, but the Kante De Bruyne thing, I think a lot of people have set up the team and not looked at it again, and maybe are just taking a rest until the tournament starts. But if you've got Kante or De Bruyne in, figure something out. Lastly, forwards. So we've got the best premium players. We'll start with these 10 to 12 million. You go first, Aaron.
I think this just ties really well into the most selected players because they all are premiums. So Kane, 43%. Like, he's going for a golden boot, home advantage. Most of what England are going to do is going to go through Kane. Lukaku is just, he's had a great season, and everything through Belgium is made so that he does well. Mbappe, 34. I do think that'll go up for match day 2. I think it's just because of his first game. I think a lot of people are going to go from Ronaldo to Mbappe. Ronaldo plays Hungary to then Mbappe plays Hungary. So, but to be fair, and I don't know if I'm alone in thinking this, I would rather have Mbappe against Germany because Germany play the high line than Ronaldo against Hungary, because I think Mbappe, I think with Ronaldo, there's so many other weapons. And recently we've seen with, like, for example, Azerbaijan, he got taken off, threw the captain's armband on the floor, just stuff like that. Like, I think there's more likely that France play through Mbappe than Ronaldo. But as crazy that is, because to be fair, I don't mind either of them in my team. I wish there was more forward spots.
Yeah, it's 11 forwards. It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it really would. But I don't hate either pick. If someone had Ronaldo, understand it, on penalties, on free kicks, and he's going after the Euros goal scoring record, I think.
Yeah, Platini's record of most goals I think he's equal with him at the minute, and he's 1 goal to beat it. About right.
If he scores in this tournament at all, he's broke the record for most international tournaments scored consecutively. And he's really close to the all-time international goal scorer title as well. So, but
penalties.
I think
just need some more penalties.
Yeah, just hopefully they don't do like a Bruno Fernandez switcheroo. That would honestly drive me insane. But
Yeah.
and then Lewandowski 16%. I have a little bit more of an issue with this one. I think I would rather have Depay or Immobile there in that position, but can't argue with Lewandowski's goal scoring record.
Yeah, it's just not very good at the minute for Poland. So I think Lewandowski's the weakest premium. And you could definitely, I totally agree. Either go with one of the three that you've just mentioned out the four. So go with those three, or add in an Immobile, or add in Depay. Immobile is such a tease because I do really want him. But do you think there's much chance of him getting subbed out for Belotti? Belotti's had a good season.
I think what it'll come down to is like there's a big stigma around Immobile not being able to like ever be able to perform with Italy. I think this is like his last chance to prove people wrong. He's had a great season again. I think he finished third on the goal scorer charts. And then the season before that, he scored 30 plus in the league. And if he now that this Italy team are encouraged to attack, which is unlike Italian teams in the past, well, in the recent past, like if he doesn't succeed in this team, I think he will get Belotti will come in for the next 2 game weeks, especially if somehow Italy. I mean, I say somehow Italy can still lose against Turkey, but it's just not likely. But if they draw, I think Belotti will be the starting striker for the rest of the tournament.
Interesting. So maybe don't go with Immobile. Yeah, the two strikers that I've gotten at the minute at that price are Kane and Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, being an England fan, I am not going without Kane. Like, I don't want to be shouting against Kane. I just want him to score. So I'm going to have him. And I think Lukaku's the outstanding choice just with Belgium's group. In terms of we're talking about mid price. So we've put an 8 to 9.5. But myself and Aaron were talking before this. And I think we both agree that you just shouldn't do it. For me, there are two standout choices here. Go 3 premiums, whether that be a 10, an 11, and a 12, or 3 12s, whatever you can afford. Obviously, the rest of your team might suffer. But there aren't any players between 8 and 9.5 million that are worth the money in comparison to being able to A, go up to the next caliber of forward, or B, go cheap to then upgrade your team elsewhere. I think going for a forward between 8 and 9.5 million is doing neither one nor the other. I think you're denying yourself either a great striker or a great midfielder. So we've actually put in none of them for 8 and 9.5. And even best budget strikers, I've seen a lot of Arnautovic's, which if you want to go with them, go with them. Like, do whatever you want.
For Austria, I would rather go with Kaladic. I think he's going to be the one who starts ahead of Arnautovic. A 7.5. He's played 5 times for Austria and he scored 3 goals. So if you were to go with an Austria striker, I would go him more than Arnautovic. I think everyone's just looking at Spain, seeing if there's going to be him.
It seems that the best options are unfortunately maybe perhaps not nailed. So yeah, you were mentioning Spain. Why don't you talk about that first?
Yeah, so a lot of people are looking to see who the starting striker is for Spain, whether that is Morata or Moreno. Is that who it is?
Yeah.
And Moreno 6.5. I think Morata is he 9 million?
Too much, Aaron. That's how much he is.
Yeah, exactly. And even though he's had an okay season with Juventus,
Yeah, he has.
I think so I was watching a video, it's the same people that do the analysis for the Athletic. I think it's called Tifo.
Tifo.
Yeah. And they said that Morata is preferred due to his link-up play with Olmo and with Torres, because both of them can play in the middle if needed. So what will happen is Morata will drop deep, suck the defense out, then they run in behind, which it'll be Alba running in behind to get a cross in. Like, it'll be one of them. And so Juan Moreno's more of an out-and-out striker who will probably be brought on if Spain are chasing the game. Even though I think with Spain's quality on the ball, I don't think you personally need anyone to suck the defense out. But I guess Spain, if they have all that possession, they're going to be facing a low block quite a lot. So you need someone to suck that defense out. So I do think Morata is going to be the starting striker, but after reading and listening to all that.
Yeah, and obviously we've got Wind up front for Denmark, 6 million. He would be the ideal pick. But again, we've got no idea if he's starting or not. So we need to look at more friendlies to see if there is any chance. If I got wind, that was going to be a terrible pun. I didn't even mean it. I was going to say if I got wind. If I got wind of the fact that he was going to start, I promise that wasn't on purpose. I know that I do a lot of bad puns on purpose, but that actually wasn't. If I got wind that he was going to start, then he would be my third striker. Just, I think for the price and his ability up front, and with the players that Denmark have got and the group that they're in, he'd be ideal. The other sort of half nailed on player I've got is Gavranovic, 7.5 million. He's just scored a hat trick, but he's actually scored in qualifying as well. So I'd potentially look at him maybe, but again, speaking here, I'm just so convinced that you can do 3 big strikers in goal, the likes of Olmo, Berardi, Barella. There's some again. You can go with 7.5 million midfielders right across the board, I think, because there's just such a lack of quality premium midfielders. Keep Eriksen in, maybe is the one expensive one.
Someone who I think's interestingly priced is Shea Adams.
Yeah, he needs too many chances to score, that boy. He's
but
in Scotland won't give it to him.
6 million. If you were needing someone to come off your bench, but it's just very interesting. It's that border, isn't it? Of like,
genius and insanity.
Yeah, that's probably it. Probably been sitting in the sun too long.
Yeah. You go with Shea Adams, mate. You go with that one.
Oh no, I'm not.
I'll not.
3 premiums.
I'll go Mbappe. I'll go Mbappe. You go Adams. We'll just see. We'll just see what happens.
1 week shootout.
Yeah. Watch Adams get a hat trick against England. Right then. I think that's everyone. I think we have been talking. I mean, sorry.
I forgot to mention. I don't know whether I've just blanked. You might have mentioned the biggest player trap of all is Bruno Fernandez.
Oh, we're half talked about him in the last podcast, I think. But
yeah,
keep going.
Just while we're on about player traps, 10.5. All of his set piece appeal goes with Ronaldo in the team. Although I do think that with Ronaldo's aerial ability, if Fernandez was delivering the ball to Ronaldo, I think it would be unreal. But you're not going to take the ball off Ronaldo for that. So, but I just think he's a big trap because I do believe he's highly owned. So I just wasn't sure if we mentioned him in this episode or the last one. So apologies if we've already mentioned that again.
No bother. I don't think we have. But that's the end. That's the end of our previews for now. We are going to have one more released at a later time. We're going to have Nathan and Cameron jump on. We haven't asked them yet, but we're sure they'll say, yeah, they're not doing anything. We're very presumptuous, yeah. And we're just going to go through our final drafts, essentially, or maybe second from final drafts. We are going to have it in a format where we all absolutely rinse each other for our choices. It will not be friendly. That's the way we like it here. We like it to be cold and harsh. So we'll probably promote that on Twitter. Give us a follow at UCL Fantasy Pod. Obviously, if you're looking at our faces now, you're watching on YouTube. If not, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can get podcasts, Anchor. That's who we do this through. So please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And we will see you next time for our draft reveals. Bye now.